Racist cop points gun at black judge in court. What happens next shakes the entire trial. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, but the air was electric with tension. Judge Marcus Ellison, a black man in his 50s with graying temples and a steady gaze, presided over the trial of a young black teenager, Jamal Carter, accused of stealing a car. The case was routine, but the undercurrents were not. Whispers of racial bias had followed the arresting officer, Daniel Hargrove, a white cop with a history of complaints. Marcus, known for his fairness, felt the weight of every eye in the room as he prepared to deliver a ruling. Hargrove sat rigid in the witness stand, his jaw tight, eyes burning with defiance. Marcus had just questioned the officer's account, pointing out inconsistencies in the arrest report. The courtroom held its breath as Marcus leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. "Officer Hargrove, your testimony lacks clarity. Explain why you pursued Mr. Carter without probable cause." Hargrove's face reddened. "You calling me a liar?" he snapped, his voice slicing through the silence. Gasps rippled through the jurors. Marcus raised a hand, unruffled. "I'm asking for the truth, officer. Nothing more." But Hargrove stood, his chair scraping loudly. "Truth? You people always twist it." The slur hung in the air, raw and ugly. Before anyone could react, Hargrove's hand flew to his holster, and in a heartbeat, a gun was trained on Marcus. The courtroom erupted screams, shouts, papers fluttering to the floor. Marcus froze, hands raised, his heart pounding but his face a mask of resolve. "Put the gun down, officer," he said, voice steady despite the barrel staring him down. The bailiff, a young man named Tim, hesitated, his hand on his own weapon, eyes darting between Hargrove and Marcus. Jurors cowered, lawyers ducked behind tables. Time seemed to stretch, every second a tightrope. Hargrove's hand shook, his eyes wild. "You don't belong here," he spat. "None of you do." Marcus's mind raced, but he saw beyond Hargrove's Regito the fear beneath it. Fear of change, of accountability, of a world where power wasn't his by default. Marcus spoke softly, almost gently. "You're scared, Daniel. But this isn't the answer." The words seemed to jolt Hargrove, but his grip tightened. Then, a new voice cut through the chaos. "Danny, stop." It was Sarah, a middle-aged court stenographer, her voice trembling but fierce. She stood, hands shaking, her graying hair loose from its bun. No one expected her to speak. She was always quiet, invisible. But now, she stepped forward, eyes locked on Hargrove. "You're better than this. I know you are. You helped my son when he was lost. Don't throw that away." Her words hung heavy, a twist no one saw coming. Sarah, a white woman who'd worked in the courthouse for decades, had seen Hargrove's kindness once, years ago, when he'd found her runaway teenager. Her voice cracked as she continued. "You're angry, but this isn't you. Please." Hargrove's eyes flickered, confusion warring with fury. Marcus seized the moment, his voice low but commanding. "Daniel, you're not just a cop. You're a man. Make a choice." The room held its breath. Slowly, Hargrove's arm lowered, the gun clattering to the floor. Tim rushed forward, cuffing him as the courtroom exhaled in unison. Marcus sank into his chair, adrenaline fading, his hands trembling now that the danger had passed. The trial was postponed, but the incident ignited a firestorm. News crews swarmed the courthouse. Protests erupted outside, demanding Hargrove's badge and broader reform. Inside, Marcus grappled with what came next. He could have let anger consume him. Hargrove's actions were unforgivable. Yet, Marcus saw a deeper truth. Hate was a cycle, and breaking it required courage beyond the bench. Days later, Marcus visited Hargrove in holding. The officer sat slumped, stripped of his uniform, his bravado gone. "Why are you here?" Hargrove muttered, avoiding Marcus's gaze. "Because I believe people can change," Marcus said. "But you have to face what you've done. Not just to me, but to Jamal, to every person you've hurt." Hargrove's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. Marcus left, unsure if his words had landed, but hopeful. Back in court, he ruled on Jamal's case. Not guilty, based on lack of evidence. The teenager's mother wept, hugging Marcus outside the courtroom. "You gave my boy a chance," she whispered. Sarah, too, found Marcus later. "I'm sorry I never spoke up before," she said, eyes downcast. "I saw how Danny treated people, but I stayed quiet. Not anymore." Her confession, raw and unexpected, reminded Marcus that change wasn't just for the Hargroves of the world, it was for everyone. The trial's aftermath wasn't tidy. Hargrove faced charges, but his case sparked debates about police training and systemic bias. Marcus became a reluctant symbol, his face on every news channel. He didn't want fame. He wanted justice, not just for himself, but for Jamal, for Sarah's son, for every person silenced by fear. Months later, Marcus stood before a community forum, the courtroom incident still fresh in people's minds. He spoke of forgiveness, not as weakness, but as strength. "Hate doesn't end with a gun or a gavel," he said. "It ends when we choose to see each other's humanity." The crowd was mixed. Some cheered, others scoffed. A young black woman in the audience stood, her voice shaking. "How do you forgive someone who'd rather see you dead?" Marcus paused, then answered, "I don't always, but I try, because if I don't, hate wins." As he stepped off the stage, Sarah approached, now volunteering with a local reform group. "I'm learning," she said simply. Marcus nodded, a quiet understanding passing between them. Nearby, Jamal, now enrolled in a trade school, waved shyly. The world hadn't healed, but these small acts, Sarah's outreach, Jamal's hope, Marcus's resolve, were seeds of something better. The story didn't over. Hargrove's trial loomed, and Marcus knew justice would be complex. But for now, he carried the moment in the courtroom, when a gun lowered, when voices rose, when people, flawed and fragile, chose to stand for something more. What do you think? Can forgiveness break the chains of prejudice, or does justice demand a harder line?